Hello, everybody. We're back at it again here. And in today's segment, I'd like to give you a couple of tips as far as starting a business. Now, you may be wondering, what qualifications do I have to give you to start a business? Well, I can tell you. Myself and my partner, we run a business. If you follow my segments, we have over 15 years of experience as far as in bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes. And a lot of businesses will come to us and they'll say, I'd like to start a business. I'd like to get things going. And there's a common thread amongst all of them, which I'll talk about here soon, in starting a business. And I really think, whether you're in North Alaska or in South Florida, it's really all the same. So so I'll kind of go over those and what we do. But we see a lot of these small businesses and they're looking for opportunities, and they come to us, and I think to myself, man, that's not going to work, or this isn't going to work, or just whatever. So I'm going to kind of go over those a little bit. So the first one is just to find the right opportunity. And what I mean by that is find a demand, and what I mean in, your daily life, just kind of go down the street or drive around, and do you see a store that has a product you like to sell? Let's just say a haircut place, or a place that sells food, or a place that sells hamburgers, or a place that sells books. I mean, just kind of keep it simple. And what I mean by that is don't overcomplicate things. I see people come to me a lot of times with these crazy far out ideas, and believe me, I hope you make it, and I hope I'm wrong, but you're either going to have a lot of luck, or B, you're probably not going to make it. So keep it simple. What I would do, because a lot of people transition from being employed to being self-employed. So what I would do is just take baby steps. And what I mean by that is, first off, focus on going from being employed to being self-employed, and just go from there. And okay, then the next step is, okay, once you're self-employed, let's maybe pick it up a little bit. Now that I have a basic opportunity, and I'm bringing sales in, and I'm still kind of figuring things out as far as the sales process, as far as bringing money in and accounts payable, accounts receivable, things like that, is, take it up a step until you get to that crazy opportunity. But like I said in the beginning, just keep it simple. A good thing that'll help you in keeping it simple and just kind of thinking it out is write a business plan. And as silly as it sounds, and believe me, I know you have everything thought out in your head, how it's going to work, and you saw other people do it, and this and that, whatever else. And you'd really be surprised once you go through the process and of actually writing it down on a piece of paper. You say to yourself, man, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And just it doesn't have to be a crazy 50-page thing. You could just write it on one piece of paper. Let's be honest. In the beginning, you have to start from something simple. Like I said before, make it simple and then get complicated. Just keep it real simple. Or talk to your spouse and just have them listen to you, and just to kind of think it out, or just to kind of, it's one thing in your brain when it comes out through your mouth. It kind of doesn't make sense. So just kind of hear them out, and maybe have them provide with some feedback, and just keep it as simple as possible. Like I said, don't use jargon, don't use complicated words. That's for later. Just kind of get the wheels going first. And it's one of those things, when you start swimming, you start in the shallow end and then you go in the deep end. So same way, just kind of make it simple, one page, just kind of think it out. And another thing I can tell you is that it's good to have a business plan. And I see a lot of businesses, and especially our business. So when I went from being employed to being self-employed, believe me, I wanted to make it. But at the same time, keep it as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate things. Because a lot of people, they think to themselves, okay, I'm just going to be in business for 6 months and that's it. I'm going to be out of business, and there's no way in heck people are going to like my services. But, I can tell you about 98% of people think that. They're wrong. And the next thing you know, they're in business 10 or 15 years later, and they're still around. So make it as simple as possible and then go from there. The next one, which I kind of want to bulk together, is a business structure / get a federal ID and open a business bank account and licenses and permits. And what I mean by that is whenever you get in business, that's kind of like you want to get something. It's either a LLP, limited liability partnership, LLC, limited liability corporation. There's a couple others out there, but that's the basic one. And really, if you talk to a bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, whatever, they'll kind of get you set up on that as far as getting the gears kind of going as far as setting up with the IRS and getting a federal ID. That'll allow you to go to your bank account. It's federal ID is something like it's called an employer identification number, EIN for short, and it allows you to go to the bank. It's kind of like a Social Security, but for your bank. For your business, and allows you to open a bank account. Now, with that, you're going to need articles of incorporation. Then your bank will tell you all this, articles of incorporation to get started and open things up, and also allow you to get licenses and permits. So just make sure you have that EIN handy to get started. Next, obviously, with that is you may or may not need startup financing, and with that, hopefully your product or service is a simple thing, but sometimes it's not, and that's it's you may need to get a server, or you may need to get some sophisticated expensive item. If that's the case, make sure you know your options, and this kind of goes back to having a business plan. If you write it down then and there, when you're not under stress of starting a business, and when you didn't just quit your job, and you got kids and you got a spouse and so forth, you can think clearly versus, doing it then and there. So just kind of figure that one out. Next is to have good accounting software, because, it's easy, kind of getting back to what I was telling you about, usually in the first couple of months, you don't think about keeping receipts and keeping the information. You want to keep it. You want to kind of develop a path to get where you're going. And you're like, oh, I'm spending too much here versus not enough. Next, develop a good advertising strategy. Advertising, and certainly online is very important, but there's other avenues. There's mailers, there's going to networking events, there's just communication in general. You have to communicate to your target market that, hey, I'm here, I'm available. I'd like to give you a competitive rate to what you're getting now for a similar service, and just kind of go from there. Next, of course, once you go up that path and you start going, is you need to hire people. And knowing how to hire people and hiring the right people is definitely something to consider. I can tell you, there's, you don't understand, but when you go from being employed to self-employed, now you're on the other side of the table. You want to hire good people. That's easier said than done. I know, believe me, I've been there. But you look for somebody who's committed. You look for somebody who is strong, and hopefully they're interested in the topic of whatever position they'll be doing. So just kind of keep that in mind when starting a business. I'm here to help, and I'm always an information box as far as information goes. A little bit about us. Myself and my partner, we have a small business, bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes for small to medium-sized businesses. So we're very well versed in the subject. www.metroacc.com. Until next time.